Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening to everyone in Nigeria. Thank you all for joining us on today. My name is Jeff Hall. I'm the president of Go Educate Inc., a nonprofit organization designed to help students attend college. Today we have some special guests that'll be joining us. A dear friend of mine, Coach King, along with his colleagues. Mr. Snead, who's the founder and principal and pastor of Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School. Mr. Hill, who's the compliance director of Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School, and going back to Coach King, he's the athletic director and head football coach. And so they'll be sharing some information on how students in Nigeria can effectively prepare to come over to the U.S. to not only just play football, but also how they can prepare academically. Because if the goal is to play collegiate football, there's certain requirements that they must achieve before they're eligible to play. And so the coaches, they'll provide that information to us on today. And also it's an opportunity for you all to get acquainted with these individuals, because some of the students, they'll be playing for Coach King as a coach, and they'll be attending Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School. And it's just for you all to get acquainted with them. So we're going to start right now. Before I start, I'd like to give it to the coaches of NAFA really quick, Coach Lawrence and Coach Chooks. Is there anything you would like to say, Coach Lawrence and Coach Chooks?
Okay. To start off, sorry, Coach Chooks, I'll just start off by saying, welcome everyone on board this evening. First, I welcome our guests today. You guys are highly welcome. We want to say thank you for this opportunity to have you guys on here today. It's something we look forward to building a stronger relationship with you all over there. And also back home here in Nigeria, we want to say a big thank you to everyone that is on here today, taking your time, out of a very tight weekend, as I know it usually be in Nigeria. Everyone has a tight schedule here. So, but at least the sacrifice of this time, it's not going to be a waste at all, because we have some great people here. We'll be sharing great resources, which is going to be aiding every one of us here, as a coach, as a ref, in training, and also the students on here as well, who wants to, be part of this great opportunity. So this is the opportunity we all probably have been waiting for. So let's key into it. Let's have our mics mute while, in this session. Let's have our mics muted, and let's also try to take notes down, whatever questions you have, try to jot them down as they speak. And if there's anything that is not clear, please ask questions, because after this session today, we'll be moving to something entirely different. Thank you. Coach Chooks.
Yeah, once again, I welcome the coaches, and we appreciate them for their time. And just to further what Coach Law just said, this is an opportunity for the participants to ask questions that I believe the answers are within this section. So, we appreciate everyone that's present, and hopefully everyone is going to go back to their other activities, smiling and happy and fulfilled. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Coach Lawrence, Coach Chooks.
Yeah.
We're going to start right now. So I'm going to yield the floor right now to Coach King. Coach King has a wealth of knowledge of the game of football. He has a wealth of knowledge on students actually being admitted into college. He has an extensive resume as a high school coach, 3-time state champion, 6 state championship appearances. He has helped a number of students go to college, Division I, all the way from Division I FBS down to Division III in NIA. In addition to that, he currently has 3 former players that he coached in high school that's in the NFL. So he has coached students to the highest level. In addition, for himself being a graduate of Idaho State University and also being attending Idaho State on a football scholarship. So right now, I want to actually give the floor to Coach King. Coach King, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I truly appreciate the opportunity that you have given me to be here on this platform. But with that being said, none of this at Palm Christian Preparatory could be possible without Pastor Willie Snead. Yes, I have knowledge of football. I have had great opportunities to play it, coach individuals, but truly what I know is like right here compared to the two gentlemen that I work beside. And trust me, at this day and age in my life, to have individuals like Mr. Snead and Mr. Hill to actually guide me is, I mean, it's a blessing every single day. So with that being said, I would like for Mr. Snead to give you guys an insight of what our school, what our mission statement is all about, because without him, it couldn't be, it wouldn't have been done. And from Mr. Snead, then Mr. Hall could give you a few minutes of the curriculum in the sense of how we can help these young men go from Nigeria to here with us and play here with us, and then move on to their dreams of playing in college, and and hopefully go from there to the next level. And then I will give you, I'll give you insights on players, like you're asking about, your coaches was asking, how to fit kids in positions and so forth. So, we can discuss that also, but I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Snead, and then from there to Mr. Hill. Coach?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
All
can.
right, perfect. Again, as Coach King said, we've known each other for a long time. My name is Willie Snead. I'm the pastor and owner of Palm Christian Preparatory School. I guess, and to keep it brief, what the overall mission of the school is, I think here in the United States, and maybe probably across the globe, that our young men are having challenges for having someone beside them to kind of guide them throughout that path of life into manhood. And the foundation of Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School is builder of boys, makers of men for the kingdom of God. So what we teach go far beyond the bounds of sports and athletics and academics. There's also a spiritual component to it, because we want them to understand that they are representing and competing in every aspect of life for the Most High, which we all as men of God here at Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School, we are Christian men that want to use our experiences, our knowledge, and our mentoring tools to help these young men move into a better space in life. So with having said that, the school is set up in a phase where there's an evaluation period, there's a transition period, so we can get to learn about each and every young man and to find out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, both mentally, socially, spiritually, academically, athletically. So there's a full battery of assessments to go into coming up with the overall game plan where we can properly equip that young man to be competitive in every level, whether it's academics, whether it's athletics, whether it's spiritual, social injustices, representing who you're about, your family, all those things. So I just want to be clear that our goal is to develop the whole young man in every aspect of his life. And I've had this experience probably twice during my coaching career where we took kids in from Canada, and we took care of them. We got them enrolled, and they were with us for 2 seasons, and then they wound up going to a college in Canada. So I am somewhat familiar with it, but I know this is a trend that's picking up fairly quickly, that there are other student athletes, both male and female, that are looking for a better opportunity to come to the United States and take advantage of all the resources that are available to them here. And I would say this on the academic piece, and I'll have Coach Hill talk about that and our core values. These are things that we stand behind, that we're committed to when a student comes to Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School. I'll let him touch on that in the academic piece, but in terms of what we offer academically outside of our sports, that's probably our strongest component, because at the end of the day, we all know that every athlete is always one play away from their career being over or having a plan B. So that's where my passion lies at, on the academic component, having them challenged academically. So if there's a level of academic performance that they want to pursue, whether it's an Ivy League school, whether it's a Power 5 school, whether it's a Division II, Division III, or NAIA, we have the tools available to properly equip them to go at any level based on what opportunities are available to them. But I will have Coach Hill, who's director of our student affairs, and he's worked with the NCAA, and he's been a collegiate coach, and he's played at Penn State. You know, Coach King, as you referenced, played at Idaho State. I played at the University of Florida. So I think between the three of us, we got a real good flavor, along with the fact that we've all been coaches at the college level and the high school level, that we have a pretty good flavor for what would be required to put a kid in position to be able to access, just the opportunities that would be available to them being a student at Palm Beach Christian. One of the things that I would say is that Coach King and I brought him on board to help coach with me at the Collegiate All-Star Game, where kids that are basically done with college and they're preparing for the next level. So we've been actively the last couple of years coaching in that, getting a higher level of coaching, seeing what that looks like from Power 5 to Division I to 1AA type players, and being able to evaluate them and put them in a position so they can earn more tape to get a shot at being drafted. But that's pretty much the long and short of it. We're a Christian-based school. Our education is Christian-based. The curriculum is, but everything is centered around our love for Christ and doing the right thing and helping to build young men into kingdom men. And that's the most important thing for me and my family. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Coach Hill, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself and some of the amazing programs that he has brought to Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School that he's currently working with another nonprofit organization.
Coach Snead, thank you very much. Everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you, Coach Snead. And again, as Coach King said, the blessings that we have is the chance to work together and a chance to work with these gentlemen who are believers, and God is first in everything we do. It is absolutely tremendous to be on with each of you from Africa. And it's exciting, really exciting to know that there is potential, tremendous potential coming out of the African nations. I will say this, my soon-to-be son-in-law is from Nigeria. And so it's very exciting. My daughter has been to Nigeria twice now and experienced that. And I haven't yet to do that, but I'm looking forward to someday being able to visit. But I'm telling you that the amount of talent that's coming out of Africa these days is actually really no surprise to me whatsoever. It should not really be a surprise. Now, how do we take all of this tremendous energy and talent and ability and now foster that through the right kind of organizations and institutions here in the United States? And we believe at Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School, we've got that. We have that foundation. I think there are three things that I want to really touch on, and this idea of, and coaches have heard me say this before, but foundation, formation, and fundamentals. I'll stay with the F's. The foundation that we're really built on, you've heard a little bit of it coming from Coach Snead, Pastor Snead, and that is
this foundation built on Christian principles. It really kind of expands into three very dynamic realms by clearly stating the vision of the institution. The mission is forged out of the vision. The vision is a broader perspective, and this idea that we are the making of boys and making of men for the kingdom. That's our vision, and there are step-by-step process that we have in place to bring that to life, because it's an idea, and the idea comes to life by virtue of the mission. The last part of this, probably the most important part of who we are and what we do in terms of our foundation, is our core values. I'm going to spell those out for you because I think it's that important. Our core values really spell out the word CBC Prep, or it's Palm Beach PBC Prep, Palm Beach Christian Preparatory. So if you take each letter, PBC Prep, it spells it right out for you. There's really no real questioning. There's no real compromise of these core values. That's what's really critically essential. And let me just spell them out for you. So the P really stands for preparing male leaders with male mentors. That is a critical element. Coach Snead talked about the fact that I went to Penn State, but even before then, I went to an all-boys Catholic school. And all boys, we had no real interference from the opposite sex. It was the greatest experience I've ever had, and having that opportunity to really focus on three things: the development of my academic formation, the idea of being mentored by other males, and then not having the interference from the opposite sex. It was really beneficial. So preparing male leaders with male mentors, that's the P. The B is beneficial extended learning opportunities. The C stands for collegiate atmosphere. So a collegiate atmosphere really speaks to the idea that what we're giving them is a kind of a higher elevated experience. That's where the preparatory idea comes from. We're preparing them for successful transitions from high school to college and college to career. There's a maturing process that takes place with that. That's why we call it collegiate. All of those things go into building up a collegiate atmosphere. I really think a large part of that is how we're maturing these young men. So we've got P, we've got B, we've got C, we got another P when we get into prep, when we talk about premier athletics. When we say premier athletics, we have every intention of being and competing at the highest level possible in the way that we prepare and the way that we play and our expected outcomes. We expect to be at a premier level, not just participating, but at a premier level. Okay, so that's your P. The R, really essential here, but everything's rooted in biblical principles. We need to exemplify that as leaders of the institution so that these young men understand what we stand for and how we go about our business. And so if we can't do that, we can't really expect that from them. Okay, so that is absolutely critical in the way that we go about our business. So that's P and R. E is embracing students' gifts and talents. We really need to be cognizant and aware of what real true gifts and talents these young men have. Some of them are going to be very gifted in the classroom. There are others that might be more gifted with their hands. They can actually do physical work, trade programs, labor, whatever that might be. We have to recognize who they are, what they can do, what their gifts and talents are, and really support that. And lastly, to spell out the word prep, prescriptive academic excellence. Prescriptive. It's a really key word. We know that if we're sick, we can go and get a prescription designated distinctly for what it is that we're suffering from and whatever our illness is. Well, the academic part has to be prescriptive. What is it that individual needs? Not generally what everybody needs, but what does that individual need? Maybe that individual needs a little bit more time in testing, maybe learning at a different level, learning in a different way. Maybe he's a better visual learner than he is a comprehensive learner, whatever that might be. Let's prescribe what it is that's going to be the best academic experience and create excellence for that individual. Our curriculum is really something special. I don't know that I've ever seen a curriculum for a high school student that can address the needs of where they are, where they are, and where they want to go, whether they're a little bit behind or whether they're further ahead of somebody else. This particular curriculum meets that need at that time in a way that, I guess the best way that I can explain it is kind of the best of both worlds. You're in class with your peers, but there's a virtual platform that ties you into a teacher, a bona fide certified teacher that is giving you the curriculum at the level that you're at. Okay, the guy sitting next to you might be somebody that's a little bit more advanced, and that's okay because the curriculum can meet his needs and meet him where he is. So that prescriptive academic excellence is there, but we can be all together with it. And I think that's dynamic. And so that's where you get the core values, P, B, C, P, R, E, P. So what happens with those core values is we've got to live those every day. We've got to live those every day in every way we go. That's our foundation, okay? Our formation has to do with the way we do things in terms of biblical principles being rooted in that. Fundamentals, okay, the last F is that the way we teach things, we think it's most important to have the fundamentals, whether it be in football, and whether it be in another sport, whether it be in the classroom. There are certain fundamental principles that go on with excellence. And so we have to really kind of instill that. We insist on it. We won't compromise on it, not one bit. So I hope that helps give some perspective. I'm sure that those are things that you gentlemen are looking for, that you're already prescribing for your own students. And you can have those expectations as the transition starts to take place from Africa to the United States. Lastly, I will throw this out here too, to help support all of this. Talked a little bit about the curriculum. We're also building in and folding into the overall platform a series of, I guess, educational platforms that are going to help move that student athlete along even further, from a series of assessments that will give us an idea of 5 very critical areas that the colleges, college coaches, and colleges in general want to see in the athletes that they're recruiting to their schools. What is that? We want to see character development. We want to see work ethic. We want to see academic performance. We want to see their physical attributes. And then we want to see what their performance is on the field. Those 5 things are assessed a couple times throughout the year. They're built on mathematical algorithms. We're not really guessing at this. We have a real objective way of assessing them year in and year out to see their growth and progress. That information can be transferred to and communicated to the colleges where we think they might fit best. And we've got a database full of colleges at every level, as was discussed earlier, that maybe fit that individual best, okay? We have our own media outlet called HSPN Sports, which we're going to align with Palm Christian Preparatory School. It's not like having your own media outlet. Okay, the media outlet will actually support the digital media realm, social media. We can broadcast if we want to. There are all kinds of ways to put the information out and design it in a way that will be effective and will reach the colleges and coaches and decision makers at the college level that need to be reached in the way that they need to be reached. It's very, very crafted, very constructed. There's one last element called it's our own online academy, okay? And it deals with the whole recruiting process. You go through a series of modules. There are somewhat like 30 some odd modules that they go through, okay? It's called Playing the Recruiting Game. They need to understand that everything you do in life it's like a game. But the more you know about the game, the more you know about the rules, the better you can play the game. So Playing the Recruiting Game Academy is an online series of educational modules that the students take. And by completion of that, they have a much better idea where they fit in this process and how to affect the process. So it's another teaching tool. So I give you all this, and I know that's a lot, but it makes us distinctive. It makes us distinctive and distinguishes us from any other school out there that they might consider because of all these support mechanisms, these support platforms that are there to help the students. That's what Student Affairs does, and that's what it is. And so that's where we're coming from, then, and I hope that helps. And certainly I know we're going to get to the point where we can answer questions, be happy to do that, but I thank you for your time.
Mr. Hall.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. Thank you so much, Pastor Snead and Coach King. Thank you for providing that overview of your program, the institution and your objectives. For many of the parents here, that was very vital information because if their kids leaving home, they want to know where they're going, and then they want to know what type of program is being ran. And thank you for providing that information. But I'm going to actually give it back to you. I'm going to give it back to you, Coach King, to talk, I guess, to talk a little bit more about the program and just from a football standpoint as well.
Okay. In regards to, can I? Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Everyone hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So, with regards to football, are you getting a phone call?
Yes. We're hearing a little bit of static, a little bit, like a little muffled, a little bit. Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes.
From here, I can hear, yeah. So we can hear from here too.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So, in regards to our football program, we don't only have football. That is one component of our school. We have football, but we also have basketball. We have track. We have baseball. So our school is wide open as far as any of these young men that would like to play other sports, that have a passion to play basketball, baseball, run track. So we have the other components to our school. But in regards to football, our biggest thing is about teaching the young men how to play together, how to be one and not be an individual, because football is a team sport. So the one thing that you all need to understand, you have to be willing to be a team player. Okay. You have to be willing to accept the facts that it is constructive criticism, but when an individual, a coach tells you this position best fits you. Okay. Granted, everybody wants to be a quarterback, but not everybody can play quarterback. But it is other positions on that field that will fit and suit you with proper coaching and proper IDing of where you will fit. So with that being said, one of your questions earlier, Mr. Hall, was you was asking about kids and positioning and finding the right position to fit a kid. In their earlier stages, in their freshman and sophomore year, it's all about development. It's all about trying to hone in and find the right position for that young man to fit. And as you go on through their high school careers, it all comes to a point where you know exactly where that young man fits and what's best for that young man and what's best for the program. Because you have to remember, it is a team sport, and we all have to be committed to do whatever it takes to help the team. And in the process, we help that individual achieve their goals also. So, as far as in lifting, it is huge in the first 2 years that we do a lot of developing the kid's skill set in the weight room with agilities and different things of that nature. So it's not one of those things where a kid comes in as a freshman, sophomore who's never been a part of our program, and we just start cramming weights on them. We have to first put this young man through a 2-year cycle of developing his body on how to properly lift, how to properly train, how to properly eat, because it's situations where the young men, their bodies are off balance. So that's our job, to help get that young man's body in line with what's going to help him be a better athlete and a better person. And it also prevents injuries. So we have we have components on top of components that we have to work just to get that young man ready. And once again, we're talking about football, basketball, track, baseball, soccer. These are things that we have to accomplish as a staff before we can maximize and get the best out of that young individual, out of that young man. So it is a process. It is a process. But with that taking place, we help those young men get into a better situation. So when they do go off to college, they have a strong foundation. And they can, and I mean, at the end of the day, they can fall in line and understand what's being placed in front of them when they get to college. And from that step forward, you know, move on to a higher level. But the same thing we do athletically, we do it academically. So everything is in line, and we have guidelines that we follow, because without these rules and our regulations that we have in place, then it's no system. And that's our biggest thing. We have a system, we have a formula. He took you through the core values. Those same core values apply to our athletics. We have to be one, because if not, then we're just running. We're just running, and we're not benefiting no one. And that's one thing that we will never compromise, is our core values, our structure, our identity. And with the young men, you know, we're big on that. And you know, so when it comes to the sports, we want to be as fair as possible with our young men, but at the same time, we want to be transparent. We want to be transparent with all of our student athletes on where they fit and where they are as an individual. You don't want to lie to these kids, because that sets the kids up for failure. So when they do go off to college, or they don't go to college because their expectations are here, when it's clearly not where they are. So, you know, once again, talk about the core values. We talk about the principles of, you know, we want to be transparent. We're gonna be transparent with every individual that attends Palm Beach Christian Preparatory. You know, so those athletically, that's us. Okay. I can't sit here and say, this young man from Nigeria is going to be here and this young man is going to be there, because we haven't had that time to sit with you, take you through training, take you through evaluations. And because at the end of the day, it's not just me doing the evaluations. It's Mr. Hill, it's Pastor Snead. And then we have a list of other individuals that this is their job, this is their passion, to get these young men in line to be the best student, person, and athlete that they can be. So as far as in the football itself, it would be best if you guys ask questions and we can help answer your questions, instead of us saying, you know, it's this about a position, when we have to truly be able to work with you to help you form your identity as an athlete. And it goes back to what Pastor Snead said and Mr. Hill. It's all development. We have to be able to work with these individuals and help shape and mold you. And it's the same thing with our athletics program. It is not a fly by night. We get you in today and you're gone and ready to go tomorrow. No, it is a process. It is a process, because to play on the collegiate level and to play on a pro level in any sport, you have to be willing to go through the process and take constructive criticism, because once again, it is transparent with what we do between our coaches, our administration, and our players. Everything's transparent, and we believe in that open line of communication.
All right. Thank you, Coach King. Really appreciate it. We're going to actually open the floor to questions. So,
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
hello? Hello? Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Jeff. Good evening. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I believe Kyle was speaking. Kyle, were you speaking?
I'm actually a coach for Lagos Marine. This is Coach Kai Speedy. I work with Coach Lawrence. I really want to ask a question. Getting these athletes on board, what kind of build-up do you think we can give them? Because I'm actually after discipline and being honest in the team. Then getting them out there, what can we prepare for them to get out there? Just for them to be safe, for us, or yeah, just know that our players there are safe, in good hands.
Excuse me, Kyle, can you repeat that? You was breaking
I
up.
really need to know. Okay, all right. I'm gonna repeat that, Jeff. I'm actually saying for the players to get out there, most parents will be so curious to know if their children are in a very safe hands, being out there in the US, being in the football college or high school, reading. They want to know the criteria of what they will need to do to get out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Coach King, Mr. Hill, Pastor Snead. Kyle was asking what most parents would like to know what the students need to do, like in order to get out to attend high school over here or even college. They would like to have an idea of the preparation. From your experiences, what have the students have done in the past? I know Pastor Snead, you shared that you had students from Canada who played on your teams in the past. So I don't know if there's anything you would like to reference there to share with the audience on today.
Yeah, basically the process is the same. There would be an enrollment process. I would talk with those families. If there's a language barrier, then we ask that there would be a translator there to make sure that there's a clear line of communication. So both families understand what the expectations are. So we will have them fill out an application. That would give us some information to start building with. Then we also would want to know what they have done in their native country in terms of academics, their schooling there, what courses they've taken. Because again, as Coach King and Coach Hill referenced, we want to be able to build a process for them based on where they're at. So that evaluation and gathering that information is critical to us being able to collectively put together a game plan, both athletically, both academically, and spiritually, to make sure that we have all the information we need. So once we do that, Coach Hill, who's over our student affairs, will go over with them the tuition and those type of things. But let me back up and say this. Where the school is located, it is one of the safest areas in Green Acres, Florida. Probably the best thing to do is if you Google Earth, the address to the school, you can see clearly the high school sits between an elementary school, a middle school. There's a fire department right on the corner. Then there's a nice gated community literally across the street. And one of the things that you mentioned, safety, I think that's critical. And I think that's a great question that any parent should ask when you have your kids or you're thinking about allowing your kids to leave their native country and come to the United States. We do have a partnership with the chief of police here in Green Acres. He's a former athlete, played baseball at the University of Miami. Coach King knows him very, very well. He's a huge part of our culture and our community with the school. The school will also be gated, so it won't be an open campus. We want to make sure, because of what has happened in the past, we want to make sure that our students' safety is at the top of the list outside of the things that they do inside the school, which is the academics, the spiritual growth and development. So we've taken all those measures to ensure, whether they're coming from the Bahamas, whether they're coming from Nigeria or Africa, our process is to protect all students, staff, and faculty members that's a part of Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School. We want to make sure that there's a safe environment for all parties involved. So that's at the top of our list when it comes to security. And that's something that we had to address with the city of Green Acres, being a new school open, that they wanted to make sure that the campus was safe. So that, again, goes without saying, from law enforcement, from the city, and then internally what we do on a day-to-day basis at the school. That's very, very important to us, that all students and all faculty members, coaches, are in a safe environment and a gated community at Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School.
Okay, Coach Willie, I actually have athletes who runs 100 meter. I spoke with Jeff Hall yesterday. I had athletes that I trained around 10-2, 10-3, and 10-9. But then get it out there, I really need to know how they can get out there. I know when I get out there with you, I know they will be in the same bank with what you are saying. I will speak to the parents. I really need to know how they can get out there to be with
Right. Right. Yep. I want to address that first part. The getting out here, I guess that's something that I would probably need more information, Jeff, or who's responsible for the transition as far as resident. You know, where the students will be staying. We don't have dormitories, so but there are several residential units, apartment complexes that's in the Green Acres area, and I'm sure Coach King could probably help with that as well. But I think we would probably need to know from their end, if they have a passport, if they have the ability to be able to be over here. Because what I ran into with Canadian athletes, they had to have a green card, or they had to have a passport that would allow them to be able to either go to school over here or work. So I think those are some of the logistical things. And I don't know, Coach Hill may be able to chime in on that, but we want to make sure, because here's what happened. We had 5 boys that came to us. One of them was not allowed to come because he didn't have his card to come over here and actually be a student over here. So he had to go back. The other 4 had their paperwork in order. So I think that will probably be the first thing to find out from your country, what it takes to come over this way. And then also, because of what's happening around the world, what COVID-related issues that could possibly be a roadblock to make sure that entry into the United States, to make sure that each and every young man that's there, that he's able to go through COVID protocols. So there are a lot of hoops, but I think if it's something that you all are looking to do, that's something that I would jump on right away to find out, either through your embassy or your representative in your country, what are some of the guidelines, what are some of the things I would need to do if I want to come to the United States and participate in sports, whether it's in high school. It's the same way in college as well. So that's probably where I would just do that to see exactly where they are in that process.
All right, thank you, Coach Willie. Like I spoke to Jeff Hall yesterday, I was actually happy hearing from Jeff Hall, because I want to Coach Lawrence. As time goes on, I'm going to keep Coach Lawrence work together in Nigeria here for the Nigerian American Football team. I'm going to try my best as soon as possible to find out how athletes that are into track and field, what also want to play the American football. To see how we can get them over there. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Jeff, were you able to pick up his
No,
comment?
no, I wasn't. Cal, can you speak a little bit louder? Your volume was low on that.
Also, maybe we can write it out quickly in chat and pick it up and let us know who you're addressing it to. Just in general, how can, maybe write that out in chat for us, and then we can go through that question and go through that and maybe come up with the answers that you need. Would that be possible? You can write it out in chat real quick.
All right. So David, what I'm actually saying is that I'm happy to with your call and Coach Willis, because I want to find out my country with Coach Lawrence, because we have athletes in the Lagos American football team who actually rose in 10-8, 10-2, and 10-3. So I'm gonna find out here in my country how to get the card and get over there. Like what Coach Willis said, we have 4 athletes who came over to them, but we want to produce this card and we'll have to go back to the country. So I don't actually want that to happen to our own athletes here in Nigeria getting over there, because they're very eager to come out there, showcase themselves for what they've learned a lot. So I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Cal. We have a question from Royalty Sports. You have the floor right now. Now, before you speak, everyone, if you have a question, can you please put it in the chat for the coaches? Please put it in the chat for the coaches if you have a question. That way we can move through it really fast and we can address as many questions as possible within our time constraints. But right now, we'll yield the floor to Royalty Sports.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Solomon Udasi from Royalty Sports. I'm also a basketball player and an American football player as well. I have 4 questions to ask, actually. One is for me, which is to Coach Willie. I am 35 and I'm running back as well. What is the probability right now of me playing or getting a scholarship to Palm Beach? That's number 1. Number 2, we also have a 14 and 13-year-old kid, about 6'3", 6'4", which runs 4'8", 4'7". I think they're on the Zoom meeting right now to ask what is the advice for them and what is the possibilities of them coming over there to play American football. And lastly, we have basketball players, which they are also at in the meeting right now. I've been trying to talk to them to play American football, but most of them are actually running from American football. I don't know why. Probably you can help me advise them as well on if they can try to play American football, which is not stopping their basketball. And lastly, you spoke about other sports like athletics and javelin and co. I want to ask, do you actually have soccer as well? Because most of our players as well play soccer and they are very fast. They do other sports. But in terms of basketball and soccer, please, can you help us address that as well? Thank you.
I can maybe, and Coach Snead, you can help me out if you'd like to too. I maybe address some of the, make sure I got the question correct first of all. That you, sir, are 35, is that correct? 25?
No,
25
no, 20, 25. Yeah.
25. Okay, 25. Sorry.
25, yeah.
I was going to say, you don't look 35. But let me at least address from the standpoint of the idea of playing, obviously, at the college level. We wouldn't be talking about Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School, obviously. But anybody that was at a college level, Coach Snead talked a little bit about it before too, but it really is a matter of organizing proper paperwork that would actually identify you first as, college eligible, right? Meaning we're going to, first of all, have to, any college in the United States is going to want to know that you have, going to put you on an international student visa. Does that make sense? Uh-oh, we losing? Hopefully they don't lose it. Anyhow, the colleges are going to want to know that you're going to be able to obtain a an international student visa, that passports are in order, that all of that is there first so that you can make the transition from one country to this country. There would have to be an overview and assessment of academic records, depending on what school that you're looking at, to see whether or not you could enroll in that school and meet the admission standards of that institution. That would be the next thing, but it would have to be, student visas in order, transcripts from, your current, preparatory institution as you prepare to go to college. And then it's up to that particular sport and their coaching staff to assess or evaluate your role, your position in that team, depending on, eligibility, because the next group to get involved would be the NCAA. That's the National Collegiate Athletic Association. If you're going to a school that was part of their membership, there's another organization out there that was mentioned earlier called the NAIA. So these are the two governing bodies of all of collegiate sports in our country. National Collegiate Athletic Association, which you may be familiar with. The other is the National Association of I believe, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, NAIA. So they have a whole set of schools as well too. There's one last governing body that oversees the junior college or community colleges, which may be the other option. That is the National Junior College Athletic Association. So, those are the organizations that have the schools. The NJCAA oversees all two-year community colleges. The NAIA has a whole series of schools themselves. They're not as big as the NCAA. The biggest organization we have governing schools in this country is the NCAA. So it's first, do I meet the standards of an international student? Can I obtain an international student visa? Series of paperwork that you take care of there. Of course, the passport has to be in order. And as Coach Snead talked about, are the COVID protocols, are they reciprocal? Okay, from your country to this country going back, because there's going to be a little bit back and forth. Are you able to make those accommodations? Now, the one thing about college is that different from the high schools is that you would be looking at particularly on-campus housing as an option, depending on what school we're talking about. So that takes care of that. But there are a series of checklists and check marks and checks and balances that got to happen first. And I think the first thing is, am I able to make the transition as an international student with my international student visa? And I believe that might be through the I-9, that type of process. But each and every college here's the good thing, each and every college usually has an international student division where they can work with international students to make sure all the paperwork is done. Okay, check. Then they're going to check and see what your transcripts might be looking like from any institutions, any high school level institutions, interscholastic institutions that you may have come from. Take a look at those grades or other colleges that you might have attended. And it's up to the receiving, keep this in mind, it's up to the receiving institution that's receiving those transcripts to determine what is acceptable, whether they be high school level transcripts or other colleges that you may have attended, to see where you stand in terms of admissions and or any courses that might be counted as college courses at their school. That's up to the receiving institution, if that makes sense. Then lastly, it's whether or not that school and their particular program, their athletic program, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, whatever it might be, do you have the requisite physical attributes and performance values that fit that school? Okay, so kind of, three different levels of assessment to determine your eligibility to be at that school, if that makes sense.
Great point, Coach. And just to piggyback off of that, I saw in the chat about kind of a workout regimen to determine, as a young man, as some that are basketball players that may want to transition or see what their options look like for other sports. Part of our campus that we will have a 6,000 plus square foot training facility. It'll be a state-of-the-art training facility. We have not even touched on that because we wanted to make sure, as Coach King and Coach Hill said, once you come on board, with Palm Christian Preparatory School, our tuition structure is and it's pretty much in line if you become a Division I, II. a full grant and aid scholarship athlete. So our tuition covers everything from the training, from the nutrition, from the gear that they have to compete in. Everything is covered in that one price. But to answer the question about the actual training module, that's where we do the assessments to determine where they're at and to offer suggestions in terms of what skill set they have that will allow them to compete in other sports. And that's something we do. We encourage every student to participate in other sports. And some may find out that they may be actually better in another sport than the sport that they're currently in. So that's kind of that 2-year journey that we have in place for a lot of the younger students that comes in that haven't pretty much really tapped into their potential in terms of what they're capable of doing.
Snead.
Yep.
I did think, I see another question. I don't know if we addressed this one from, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. Is it Meme? And the question was about females, a lot of interest in the sport. I don't understand if there are opportunities, or want to understand if there are opportunities for females, as much for females as there are for male coaches. Is that the question? If Meme is still there?
Coach, we have a females here in Nigeria who are actually athletes, basketballers, but they are actually asking if there is a female American football team out there which they can actually come to the college or the high school to play the game.
Look, if there was ever an indication of the opportunities that both males, obviously, and females have coming to the States, you watch the Olympics, right? If you've got a chance to watch the Olympics, my goodness, the number of athletes coming from different countries who have actually participated and been enrolled in American universities, who are now, they may go back and compete for their home country in the Olympics. But a lot of these athletes are participating in American universities on scholarship. So trust me, and I've seen, believe me, I've seen some of the athletes over in different parts of Africa, Nigeria, et cetera, who have the ability to come not only participate in college sports, both male and female, but many times if the athleticism there, the ability is there, they might be scholarship athletes. That opportunity is there. Believe me, if you can play. Getting everything in order, again, going back to all the paperwork, the international paperwork, student visa, I-9, et cetera, okay? Transcripts and things of that nature so that you are ready to enroll in that university. If you have the athletic talent, which, as Coach Snead talked about, there's a development process that might go into that. We're going to have a tremendous performance development platform at Palm Beach Christian. That's going to, for training facilities, going to be fantastic, state of the art. But I mean, if you have that kind of ability, believe me, colleges, American colleges and universities will definitely want you to be a part of their program. It's just a matter of making sure, it doesn't matter whether it's male or female, just making sure all the paperwork is in order. That's the critical part.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Okay.
I think, excuse me, Mr. Kyle, I'm just going back to Meme, I think she was also asking about opportunities in regards to football. Something that we've been sharing is that even with American football has been really progressive lately as far as opportunities for women as coaching, women in officiating, and then even the NAIA has also they began to offer scholarships for flag football, women flag football. I don't know if there's anything that you all would like to add on that. That's something that I think many of the young ladies in Nigeria who are interested in American football, they have been expressing their interest in. So I don't know if there's anything you would like to add in that regard.
At this time, the NAIA colleges have taken on women's flag football. So, but here in the States, the high schools that can afford it has girls flag football. The high schools that can't, they don't participate with it. But we do have high schools, high school girls flag football, but not at our school because we're an all boys school. But away from that, there are NAIA colleges that has started over the past 2 years women's flag football. So, once again, Mr. Hall, that's one of those situations where you would have to reach out to more or less the NAIA and see what's their rules and regulations, stipulations for international females to come to the United States and participate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Coach King. Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. Is anyone? Are there any more questions? Anyone? Oh, there is one more question from Samuel. Samuel asks, if I was to come to your high school on scholarship, football or basketball, he was asking how would you be in contact with him so he can get the paperwork started? So I'm taking this as Samuel is asking, what is the process to come over? Like, what is the process for your school? I believe Pastor Snead touched upon that a little bit, but Pastor Snead, if you would like to.
Yeah, the first step we would do is that I would have Coach King, he would need to get his contact information, his legal name, his email, and everything starts with the email. We would email him over application or anyone for that matter. And then once we receive that, that kind of gets the ball rolling. As Coach Hill referenced, there's a checklist that Coach has that we would need to be able to properly and thoroughly address to make sure that everything is in line from an enrollment standpoint. And then Coach Hill talked about the checklist or the requirements to be able to transition from their country to the US. So there are two tracks that are going there. And I know the other young man mentioned that he would look into that. But internally for us, we really would just need his name and email, and we would send him the application to complete. And then once we have that, then we kind of get the ball rolling. But the other thing we have to be aware of is that, from one country to the next, what does that look like if that's something that would basically halt the process? Our school officially opens after Labor Day. So we're opening officially in September. Tomorrow, we start our bridge program. That bridge program is a month where we have training camp where Coach have his guys. We do strength and conditioning in the morning, agilities. Then we have a session where we're set up where we do just kind of team building, Bible study, and then they have lunch. So it's like a full day as if they were in college without actually being in class until we officially open in September. So that month of August gives us an opportunity to put those foundations in place to be able to do that as well. I saw the other question come. The thing about Palm Beach Christian, we take all young men from all walks of life, all faiths, and we don't discriminate based on what someone's belief is. Our position is that we're men of God, and we want to be able to share goodness with these young men. And here's the thing, and I think all the coaches can agree on this. If we're able to plant a seed over the next 4 years to give them the tools necessary to be able to go out and compete in an open market, whether it's in athletics, whether it's in the business sector, whether it's in the collegiate sector, our goal is to plant those seeds. So at some point over time that produces a harvest. And that young man is in a position to take care of his family, to give back to others. And that's really what Palm Beach Christian is about. We're about, as we had stated before, we're a builder of boys, makers of men for the kingdom. And that it doesn't matter what religious background they come from. We want to love on these young men, and we want to show them, we want to share our life experiences with them and give them tools and opportunities to be able to compete in a very competitive world out there for most of us that have it all together, that have degrees, that have done everything right, and it's still tough. So we want to equip them as much as we can so they can have a chance to be competitive out there to take care of themselves and their families.
Thank you, Pastor Snead. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions, or does anyone else has a question?
Coach King, do you want to, Coach King, do you want to drop your contact information in there for anyone that has a strong interest, a sincere interest, and we'll work between myself, Coach Hill with Student Affairs to make sure that everything is lined up, because if we do it that way, then we can kind of make sure that no one falls between the cracks. And along with you, Mr. Hall, with your organization, that we're all on a concerted effort to make sure that we can get as smooth a transition as possible. But for those of them that have heard what we've had to say and has a strong interest and a strong desire to make that transition, I think it starts with them submitting the information to Coach King, and then we'll circle around. And then obviously we would have to have another call, you know, between our entities and say, okay, what's the best path to get that young man here so he can be in a position to kind of take advantage of the resources that are available here.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share my email with Mr. Hall, and from there they can contact me via email, and also they can contact you, Mr. Hall.
Okay.
And if it's, you know, if it's a way they can't get to me, that you could share the information with me via email, text, or by phone call. So yes, I'll share that now. Yes, I do have, I have IG. I'm a little
Mr.
old
King, why
school,
don't we,
so
why don't we also give them, and I mentioned before, the media platform that's going to network. And
Yes.
basically we're in partnership with the school. So HSPN Sports, like ESPN, but HSPNsports.com. I'll put it in the chat. All things and anything that is media related might be there as well too, along with Coach King's IG as well. But that will be the official media platform for Palm Beach Christian Preparatory School. So HSPNsports.com. And from there, there's, you know, social media is attached to that, and that'll be the main platform as we go forward. But I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, I have a question now. So I want to talk about, you know, there are people like coaches here, and then there are ref. These are, most of them are coaches and ref and training, and would like to see how you can encourage them in terms of what you expect from athletes, and this will help them to know how to prepare the athletes that will want to be ready in the future to make a transition. So athletically, in terms of football, since that's the major objective while we're here, you know, so they want to know what to do, how they should take it seriously, and how they should balance the checks and ensure that the player is developing, and players that are not developing, what they can do. And I think this will go a long way to help those the majority of people on this platform now.
Okay.
So if you can shed more light on that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the first part of it, and then I'll have Coach King kind of follow up, and then Coach Hill. We've all been athletes and we played. One of the things I can tell you, if I'm where you are, and I have a son or I have a player that wants to come and play sports here in the United States, here in particular in the state of Florida, it's extremely, extremely, extremely competitive. And I think Coach King touched on that to come to this part of the country to play a sport is kind of a double-edged sword. If you come here and you're prepared and you show that you have the skill set, or you're willing to be open to a more rigorous standard of training, which we we take a lot of pride in that because we know the level of competition that we do is that we want to make sure that they understand that most coaches come to this part of the country, come to the state of Florida for football players because ideally that's where most of the most skilled players come from. You have other states like California, Georgia, Texas, but Florida has always been at the top of the food chain when it comes to that. So what does the training look like? The training it has to mimic what they would see here in the state of Florida. One of the things I would encourage you all to do, if you have YouTube, start YouTubing Florida high school football games. That will give them a flavor of what the level of competition is like, how faster, how bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic than they are. And that way, you'll at least have an idea, say, okay, I need to step my game up. I need to increase my training regimen if I'm gonna make that transition and come here and compete. If they're able to do that, if they're willing to do that, then the other side of that sword is there's gonna be a tremendous amount of opportunities. And I think between Coach King, Coach Hill, and myself, with our contacts and resources that we have at every level of the NC2A, JUCO, prep schools, we have a much further reach and there's more opportunities created. So one of the things we won't do is we won't mislead anyone into kind of giving them a false sense of hope and security that if I come here, it's going to be easy or I don't have to. There's some real dudes down here that train and they're very serious about it. And a lot of them do it because that's the way to get their family out of a poverty type situation. But if they have the right mindset, if they're coachable, if they can take tough coaching, Coach King is an old school coach. He's going to get on you if things are not done a certain way. My coaching style is different. Coach Hill's coaching style is different. But here's the benefit. That young man gets a variety of coaching styles that's going to help him prepare for the next level, if that makes sense. But Coach King, you want to go ahead and elaborate on that? What would be the expectation for them to come over here, and what would they be facing in terms of being a student here at Palm Beach Christian, what the level of competition is like? What happens if, say, 3 or 4 years down the road, or 2 or 3 years down the road, we're playing a Bosco out of California or Bishop Gorman out of Vegas, which Coach Hill can speak on that, what that looks like outside of the state of Florida. So there's a lot of moving parts, but Coach, can you go ahead and kind of lay out to them what they would need to do right now if they're seriously considering making a transition?
Okay. First and foremost, Mr. Snead said it best. You need to go on Google and YouTube and look at the caliber of players that come out of the state of Florida. And, you know, and with that, you can actually pull up. So for example, you can pull up a few schools in the state of Florida. Coach Snead is legendary with Glade Central, which is one of the schools in the state of Florida that has, at this time, I believe, the most NFL players in history in the state of Florida that has come out of one high school. You can look up other schools like St. Thomas Aquinas. I was fortunate to be at American Heritage, Boca del Rey, where we built the dynasty within 9 years, fast-tracked. But when we're referring to places like he was saying 3 years from now, a Don Bosco, a Bishop Gorman, you're talking about institutions where college coaches, NFL coaches, former NFL players, current NFL players, they send their kids to these programs so that they kids can have a fair shake at being able to go to the next level. And that's not only in football. We're talking about track and field. We're talking about soccer, tennis. We have a new school that's been around for less than 10 years, Snead, IMG. And I
IMG.
mean, for IMG, I mean, they've always been known for tennis. And now all of a sudden they're on the scene for football. And they grab their kids from anywhere in the world that are willing to come and take that training. And it's once again, it is, you have to be transparent, and you can't wear your feelings on your sleeve. That is something you cannot do, because you're dealing with the best of the best in the world, and basically in the United States. You're dealing with the best of the best in the United States, all funneling in to these different high schools. Now, that's not saying that those are the only athletes, by no means. But when you're talking about playing the caliber of athletic sports, and you have to line up with these different institutions, then you cannot be selfish. And on top of that, you have to be able to go through a cycle of coaches like us. You know, a coach, you know, it's all different styles to get you to where you need to be. And that's not saying that we don't care for you, we don't like you. No, that's our way of trying to help you accomplish your goals, to get you to where you need to be. So with that, once again, I am a stickler on fine detail, doing the little things right. Because if you end up playing against individuals of a Don Bosco, a Bishop Gorman, the little things will get you beat. And if it goes from little things to big things, it is a long, miserable night. And once again, that is football, basketball, baseball, track. You're talking about programs that will flat out embarrass you if you're not up to par in what you do. I've seen a question where it said, the different styles. It is all different types of styles of coaching. Our styles of coaching at the end of the day is all about our kids. Okay. It is all about our kids. I know you all might have heard of the tough love. Well, that's us. We're going to get on you. And trust me, the time we get on you to 2 minutes later, we're grabbing you, we're hugging you, and we're talking you through what took place. Okay. It's not that get on you and push you to the side and say, hey, they'll figure it out tomorrow. No, we're going to get on you, but we're also going to explain to you why. And we have, and with our training sessions, like Pastor Snead was referring to, with this week coming up for our football program, we have in-class study. We have video sessions. At that time, you will have video of your practice, and you will be able to sit down with us and see, okay, this is what Coach was referring to. And we walk you through it, because at the end of the day, just because I say 1, 2, 3, that doesn't mean you understand 1, 2, 3 the way I said it. So the first and foremost thing, we have to figure out how we can get both sides to understand each other, and with you all coming from another country, yes, we're going to run into a language barrier. We're going to, so it'll be a situation where we have to spend time learning each other. We will not be the one to say to you, either you're going to learn us or it's the highway. No, we all are embarking on a journey that we have to understand both sides. And with that being said, it goes hand in hand. You have to understand to learn us the same way we will be willing to learn you. And trust me, great things will happen. But far as the athletic side of it, you have to be able to be open. And once again, you have to be able to push yourselves, because here in the state of Florida, these young men will push themselves till they can't push no more, just to obtain what they're looking for. And that's critical. And like we were saying about our first 2 years of training with an individual, we have to be able to find that threshold. We have to be able to figure out how much we can push on a kid, on an individual's body, but we're doing that over 2 years of building you to get you to where you need. We're building you to be able to play a Bishop Gorman, a St. Thomas Aquinas, a Don Bosco, because they're being pushed. And the other side to that is they're being pushed in the sense that the majority, a lot of those kids' families are well off to where they can pay for that extra training. And like Pastor Snead said, that's all included in our school. All of that training is included into our school. So that puts more on us to provide for you. But at the same time, the only way we can provide for you and give you that opportunity is if you're willing to be open. You have to be willing to be open. You know, you have to. So with the training, you know, once again, it is crucial that you take that moment and look at YouTube and look at the different training sessions that is taking place around the United States. And here in Florida, it is one of the most competitive states it is. You have college coaches that'll visit 5 high schools in one day, and they're basically offering 20 scholarships between those 5 high schools. And sometimes in them 5 high schools, they might be offering scholarships to the same position. That is how competitive it is here in Florida. You know, it is that competitive. Now, Mr. Hill will put my email and everything on the site for you all to be able to reach me, reach Pastor Snead. And we have no problems with, you know, partnering with you far as in trying to help build a criteria of how to determine where a kid's best fit is in their position. You know, and once again, not only with football, you're talking about basketball, baseball, track, and soccer. So it's, you know, so it's not just football, but with the component of football, we have, you know, a wealth of knowledge between us and other individuals that are part of what we do, that we can help you put together packets that you can work off of. Because yes, we're here, you're there. We're 5-hour difference, you know, and hopefully we can work out something where we can come to Nigeria and put on a clinic for your officials, your coaches, the parents, the players, and you know, and put on full-blown clinics, you know. But that is something, Mr. Hall, that's something that, you know, you could you can look at putting together for us. And it, you know, and with that being said, it have to follow orders. It goes through Mr. Snead and Mr. Hill. And if it's something we can do, I know we're all willing to come over and do that.
That's the plan. I mean, that's our plan.
Yes.
We plan on making it over there to Lagos. Actually, we're planning a trip where we'll be over in Nigeria in December of this year. So we can talk about that to include y'all in our trip. So that'll be great. You know, we want to do a camp over there. If it's possible that you all can join us this year. That's it. That's it.
I'll give Mr. Hall, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll give you a perspective in a very short synopsis, and where this is a tremendous advantage and opportunity on both sides of the aisle. When I think about what's developing, what's starting to develop in Africa, different parts of Africa, Nigeria, et cetera, what comes to mind, I looked this kid up, his name is Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa, okay? He was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in this 2021 draft out of Notre Dame. Heck of a linebacker, right? Obviously, he's got African roots. His dad grew up in Africa. And here's the thing, and this is, I know you know that this is where, when we talk about how competitive Florida is, certainly is. Coach King iterated that. Coach Snead iterated. It's competitive. You got to get ready to go up against the best of the best. But here's where some of the distinctions and maybe an advantages lie. There are two areas I see that are distinctly an advantage for the African players. First of all, this kid's mother, that the kid I just mentioned, Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa, his mom ran track and played volleyball in Florida. Okay, that's one thing. The dad, who grew up in Africa, played soccer, track, and volleyball. The point I'm trying to make here is there are multiple sports that your kids are playing. They're playing it. Soccer athletes, track, multiple sports. That is still a dynamic, very important thing to be doing. Not all of our kids are doing that. A lot of things happening here, Coach King, you know, they're getting into sports specialization. They're either just playing baseball, or they're just playing football, or they're just playing one sport. I never, ever agree with that. I don't think that's the way to go. And most athletes will tell you who are moving on to higher levels, they've been exposed to multiple sports. That's an advantage. If your kids there in country are doing that, that's a huge advantage. I'm going to tell you another place where you have an advantage is that, and what I find to be true, and I've been able to meet and work with some African students whose work ethic in the academic realm, a little bit different than some of our kids here. It tends to be a little different. I see something of a stronger foundation, a little bit stronger desire, and better outcomes in certain core academic core subjects. Got an advantage along those lines. Some of our kids don't work as hard as they should be, okay? But we've got natural, raw talent here, okay, that can't be matched in many ways. The difference will be, and Coach Snead, you may agree with this, Coach King, you may agree with this, the difference will be in how well you do fundamentals. How well are you able to run a route with precision? How well are you able to execute a certain series of drills and skills fundamentally better than the guy who has the same equal amount of talent, but you are that much better because you went over the fundamentals. You were sound in all of your fundamental principles. That's why I said earlier, we are a place that believes in foundation, formation, and fundamentals. And I know Coach King emphasizes that to the T. Coach Snead emphasizes that to the T. I don't know anything else other than fundamentals. So I would have never gone to Penn State had it not been for being taught fundamentals. I wasn't as fast as everybody else around. I wasn't as talented as everybody else around who I was playing on that team with. If those kids there in Nigeria, wherever it is that you're developing kids, will understand and commit themselves to being fundamentally sound. So I know they have the athletic ability. There's no question about them being athletes. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The difference will be not knowing the game as well and not having the advantage of having played the game as long as the kids who have been playing here against the level of competition that they're playing up against. Now, I'm going to tell you what, Florida football is a beast. Week in and week out, I've never seen anything like it. Okay, they can go, okay? And they're going up against each other. So iron sharpens iron every week in this state. In the state of Florida, the state of California, some other places too. Your kids don't have that advantage because they haven't had the history of the game as much, but they do have athletic ability. If they have a work ethic and they're academically committed and sound, you'll have more Jeremiah Owusus. I guarantee you. They're there. I've seen plenty of film, plenty of tape, plenty of that's going on there in Africa right now. And God forbid they really catch on like they're capable of catching on. There's going to be a flood of athletes who can come from there and be highly competitive. And the college coaches will absolutely gravitate to them. This is something very special that we're on the brink of doing, but we won't do it. We will not do it by compromise. We will not do it by taking shortcuts. My daddy told me a long time ago, there is no road to success. The only road to success, if it's shortcut, leads through the gutter. There are no shortcuts to success. So we won't do it. We won't compromise those things that we said before. So keep that in mind.
Thank you, Coach Hill. Thank you so much. I mean, I
Coach.
definitely, I can definitely attest to all of that. It's a different beast down there in Florida. Just growing up, and for many of the athletes, it's not uncommon to see someone that you're going against that will eventually play in the NFL. Like there are kids that will be graduating this year that will be playing in the NFL from the state of Florida. Like that's a guarantee. And you may face those students, especially with what Coach King, how he expressed to me what type of schedule he wants to, what that he wants to construct. The plan is for Palm Beach Christian Prep is to play like a national schedule. So you'll be playing against the best. And that's the environment they're building. But thank you so much to each and every one of you. Thank you so much, Coach King. Thank you so much, Pastor Snead. Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. We really appreciate you all here sharing information about Palm Beach Christian Prep. I know you all have a meeting that you have to head to, and so we won't hold you long. Thank you so much for everyone in Lagos, everyone throughout Nigeria that's here. We really appreciate you all taking time out of your schedule to really join us on this evening. Thank you so much, NAFA. Thank you so much, Coach Lawrence and Coach Chutes, for setting this up. We're really looking forward to the contacts and everyone reaching out and inquiring about Palm Beach Christian Prep. We'll see what we can do to get the coaches back on and share some more information. If you're interested in attending Palm Beach Christian Prep, please check out their website. Also, don't shy away from applying to the school. They also express that in order to take that step, you have to apply. So look into that. If you have any questions, the coaches have shared their email address to get in contact with them. Coach Lawrence has my information as far as getting in contact with me. Feel free to ask us questions anytime and we'll get back to you. But once again, thank you all. Thank you for